This show has been brought to you by Smith's Detection and the National Air Traffic Controllers Association.
My voice is the voice that guides you home safely each and every day.
24 hours a day, 365 days a year.
I am the voice of the safest and most efficient airspace in the world.
I have to be 100% of the time.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am a professional air traffic controller.
Mr. Secretary, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to spend some time with you in your office today.
Glad to be with you, Todd. Thank you.
Listen, you just came off the road, a big bus tour going around the country talking about the importance of surface transportation. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, a lot of times in Washington, the conversation about infrastructure is so focused on numbers, but not so much on projects and the vision that communities all across our country have for how they connect to the 21st century economy. And our bus tour was really all about going out into America and seeing the projects that we've been able to do as a country as a result of our investment and what that's meant to communities in terms of job creation and quality of life, but then also to look at some of the projects that are still yet to be done and what the state of our infrastructure is, crumbling roads, crumbling bridges, and really making the case to folks that if they want to see their visions happen around the country, they've got to speak up and they've got to let this time with the Highway Trust Fund running short, they've got to start speaking up to their members of Congress and making this more than just about numbers.
The surface transportation bill will be in the queue in Congress before the FAA Reauthorization bill. But the FAA Reauthorization bill is coming pretty quickly. But it's coming pretty quickly. Can we do not a bus tour, but maybe an airplane tour for FAA Reauthorization, go around the country and talk about the importance of aviation?
It's wide open. I do hope that we're able to get the surface issues dealt with this year so that next year can be totally focused on the FAA reauthorization, which is a major piece of legislation. There's lots of conversation and creative ideas out there, and anything I can do to draw attention to our airports and how critical they are for the livelihood of communities and the growth of our economy, I surely do want to do.
Great. Well, we appreciate you pointing out the importance of infrastructure investment. Mm-hmm. You come to this very difficult job at a very difficult time. Yeah. Congress used to embrace infrastructure investment. It wasn't politicized. It has, for whatever reason, over time become much more politicized, much more difficult to get those infrastructure investments made. How do you try and deal with that?
You know, it gets back to the bus tour and what we were trying to do there. All politics is local, they say, and in many cases, infrastructure is local. If our discussion over the next year or two about both surface and FAA reauthorization is simply about infrastructure and roads in general and airports in general, I think we're going to have some challenges. It needs to get down to the granular level to what does it mean to a community in Texas or in Illinois or where have you, to have the federal government have a significant role in improving infrastructure, maintaining infrastructure, and really enabling our economy to continue growing. I think when we get more granular, that's when it becomes real to members of Congress, it becomes real to our senators, and that's when we can get something done.
Well, it's a great segue into a question for you. As mayor, you had more than passing familiarity with a pretty good-sized airport in Charlotte. Talk about that airport and the importance of that airport to the economy when you were mayor.
It cannot be underscored how important the airport was to Charlotte, the sixth busiest in the world. We were punching way above our weight. Most airports in much larger cities have a much higher share of passenger traffic that is originated from the area. In our case, it was actually about 20% or 30% of the passenger traffic was generated by Charlotte. Most of it was coming from someplace to someplace else. Nevertheless, a huge economic driver for the region, something that attracted jobs into the area, something that attracted a much stronger regional growth than the city would have otherwise had. So extrapolating that to other parts of the country, it's very clear that air travel and airports in particular are very important to communities all across America. And as we evolve in our technology, the deployment of things like NextGen and the future takes root, I still think there's a significant role for aviation to play in strengthening communities and connecting them to the 21st century economy.
You talked about the importance of infrastructure investment. We've also talked a little bit about the challenges in the Congress in this budget environment that we're in. The administration's budget proposal includes an increase in the passenger facility charge, a locally imposed fee that hasn't been adjusted in 14 years. Can you talk a little bit about passenger facility charges?
Yeah, in general, there is more conversation today about user fees and local control than we've had in the past. And I think the theory behind our approach to passenger facilities charges is that for those large airports that have significant capital needs that are almost wholly reliant on the airport improvement program today, that giving them some additional flexibility to be able to do more capital projects and to develop their own balance of investment versus low cost is in the best interest of the country. And that's what we've proposed over several years. It remains in our fiscal year 2015 budget.
Great. One of the issues that a number of our airports in some of the smaller communities remain concerned about is air service.
Yeah.
And as pilot rest rules have changed and the economics of the airline business have changed, the number of carriers in the airline business have changed, that's put pressure on smaller communities. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, one of the things coming from a city where if I could drive 15 minutes in any direction, I was in many small towns around the area, I understand the importance of having a very tangible connection to air service and to, again, the 21st century economy. And as a result of that, we're going to continue working with communities to ensure that their access is good as we try to work through some of the issues. Quite frankly, the unnecessary and challenging budget issues of the last several years put an awful lot of pressure on many small communities, and I hope we're done with things like the shutdown and other challenges that we've had fiscally at the federal level. But again, that's a case that has to be made directly to the American people, that if you need this service, you want this service, we've got to have some continuity, some sustainability, and some long-term thinking in transportation.
We only got time for one last question.
Yeah.
You recently made your sort of maiden speech in the aviation community at a very well-received Aero Club of Washington address. What's been maybe your biggest surprise since coming into this new position?
Biggest surprise, I think across the board, the thing that I love about Department of Transportation is that it's an organization that historically has been seen as nonpartisan. It hasn't been politicized in many ways, even though maybe sometimes the issues are, the department has largely maintained its focus on improving the safety, the reliability of our transportation system, regardless of mode. And what I found here at the department is a level of professionalism from the team and from the career staff that is second to none, and that's a good surprise. I always like good surprises like that.
I'll take that. Sure. You'll probably get some of the other surprises over time.
There'll be some, I'm sure.
Take the good ones while you can. Mr. Secretary, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Todd.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate you.